Okay, Matty, good to see you. How are you keeping?
Good, thanks, Anthony. Good to be here.
Absolutely, yeah. Great to have you in. I think that's 3 serious forwards now in the last 3 weeks. It'd be a fair full forward line. I wouldn't like to be in there trying to curtail Bernard Brogan, Johnny Doyle and yourself.
I suppose we're kind of nearly from different eras at this stage, but look, we all would have played probably against each other at some stage. Definitely played with Johnny anyway. But yeah, to be 2 lads, I wouldn't mind stepping into the same full forward line as.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get a full back in here quick to try and win.
We have one of them here as well.
Try and balance it out. So all is good, yes. Yeah, you're back playing a bit.
Yeah, back playing away with the club. This last probably obviously since I retired with Wexford and kind of enjoying it, but I think it's only when you retire from the inter-county scene you kind of see the plight of the club player, I suppose it is, from their end of things. I never would have seen it before, obviously, when I was playing inter-county, but it's tough going for the club player in the current setup.
What way is it set up in Wexford, like as regards senior championship? Is it round robin? Is it knockout? Is it?
Yeah, we've round robin. Most all groups in the championship all grades have 2 groups of 6, so you play 5 round robin games. We would have had either 2 or 3 of them played before Wexford played in the first round of the championship. So once they were played in both hurling and football, kind of everything would have been stopped till the senior hurling and senior football team were out of the championship. And as it turned out, the county junior team this year as well, because they went to the All-Ireland semi-final. So we're back now to literally hurling championship one weekend, football the following weekend. It'll continue like that till you're either out of the championship or the championship is over. Right,
okay, of course, yeah. And it's what do they usually schedule, like county finals days? Is it late September, early October?
Look, as I said, we still have two group games left. You're talking about quarter-final, semi-final and final, so that's 5 games. Basically most teams are playing dual, so you could be talking about 10 weekends, so you know where that's going to take you, probably up into the middle of October. And generally over the last 8-10 years, that's where the date the county final has been up to the middle of October, even up to the end of it at times.
It's amazing, like same as yourself, you never really got to grips with the fact of the junior player, because you'd come back from the inter-county stuff and you were kind of, whether you were disappointed or whether you were happy, well, more often than not you were disappointed coming back in, and you had to get over that kind of personal disappointment. But I suppose, I don't know about you, but kind of selfishly, maybe for myself, it's just about trying to get my own head right and getting back into the club scene. But like, the club players were doing so much for so long, and just training, no games, maybe a game here or two. Like it really is. It's so lopsided. It's very, very tough on them.
It really is. And look at it, as you said, we only realise it kind of when you go back playing. I personally, whenever I was finished with Wexford, I used to really enjoy going back because we were always very competitive and we're lucky enough to win senior championships. But I knew the lads were kind of working away very hard, but it was tough on them to possibly a couple of meaningless league games over maybe May and June. When you really should be playing football, long, warm, bright evenings. I said the lads were kind of fed on a diet, I suppose, of heavy training probably, and I said a couple of meaningless league matches that meant very, very little in the grand scheme of things. But it was only kind of when we came back, we were lucky that when you finish with your county scene, once you come back you're playing club championship straight away, so you have something to get the head around straight away, and it kind of concentrates you again. So from our point of view as county players, it was nice to do that, but I only realise now how tough it is on the club player.
Yeah, but it's great to be back, because like you had a tough few years there. I remember chatting to you the night we were up and we were down at the charity gig, and you were just saying how, you'd just run me through. You'd a serious, obviously the back problem was the main issue, was it?
Yeah, I got a bit of help from another player in a club game. I think it was in 2009. Basically, I landed on my hip bone from a sliding tackle. I broke the bottom disc in the bottom of my back in half, and half of that lodged in my sciatic nerve, which wasn't too nice. It was 16 days from the time of the injury till I had the operation, and I managed to lose just 2 pounds short of 3 stone in the 16 days with just unbelievable pain. There was nothing I could do. It was actually easing it. So once I had the operation, the pain, the serious pain eased straight away. The really bad sciatic in my leg went on for probably 2 to 3 years after that, and it's only in the last possibly a year, maybe 8 months to a year, that it's actually started to settle down, where I'm not in a lot of pain the morning after training or the morning after a match, where I'm actually have a bit of relief now. I'd say I'm probably actually fitter now than I was when I retired in 2010.
Jeez, and so you weren't able to train, I'd take it, or you trained but you trained through the pain barrier, and were you just dosing yourself up on drugs just to try to keep yourself right?
To a point, because they came to the stage where I said, look, I'm going to keep doing this and just kind of masking it and probably making it worse. So for probably after 8 months, probably a year of the injury, of the operation, or from the time I got back, after about a year, I just kind of stopped taking nearly everything. I was getting a lot of physio and stuff like that, but I wasn't really easing it. I was still in an awful lot of pain, but thankfully over the last year, that's the ease where I've actually got quite a lot of relief now, where it's only very sporadic where I get any hassle with it, thank God.
Yeah, fair play. And what year was that again?
I got injured in 2009. I didn't play at all with Wexford that year. I got injured early in the league, playing a club championship game. So I didn't play at all with Wexford in 2009, and came back at the end of the National League in 2010 and played a couple of championship, three or four championship games, but I was basically only a passenger, and I just knew at that stage I wasn't enjoying it. Training was literally killing me, so
yeah.
I had to call it a day.
And of course, as usual, probably lads saying, Forde is finished, and not actually realising the pain and all the stuff you were going through just to get out there, and obviously how your performances were being affected. Because, you had a serious year in 08.
Yeah, look, very possibly, but look, I knew myself, and I suppose anyone that was Wexford or with the club knew I was in serious trouble, and I was in serious pain most of the time. The morning after a training session, I would be literally hard set get out of bed, and that went on for probably 2 to 3 years. But as I said, thankfully it's eased up a bit now, but I just knew at inter-county level it was time to call it a day, and to be honest, I'm only getting back playing at a decent level with the club in the last...
And enjoying it.
Yeah, enjoying it again, because look, you're playing pain-free, so that's it.
But that must have been very disheartening for you, considering the 08, the run you had. It was a fantastic year for you, it really, I think for yourself personally and also for the team, I think you had a great launching pad for if I remember. I can't remember exactly when it was. I've tried to kind of blot that memory.
Erase it.
Yeah, I've a number of them up there erased, but I certainly meant to erase that match. But we gave you a nice little launching pad that, although Dublin beat you in the Leinster final, you came back and beat Armagh and went into an All-Ireland semi-final. You had a great run that year. You were playing a great brand of football that year.
Yeah, look, I suppose a little bit like Tipperary this year, but look at barring that last 20 minutes of that game you're talking about in Carlow, it could have been so different. We could have ended up in the qualifiers, possibly going out in the first round. I think Meath actually lost to Limerick that year in the, that's
can't remember that one either.
That's as fickle as it can be. But we got on a good run. We beat Laois then in the semi-final. Took a bad beating off Dublin. We weren't expecting that. We were genuinely expecting to win the game, but yeah. Dublin have gone on to bigger and better things. But yeah, look, we regrouped for the first time I think in 6 years. We actually had 2 weeks between the Leinster final and the first round of the qualifier. Our first round of the qualifiers, which was against Down. So the first week now, as you can imagine, was fairly low and fairly depressing. But Jason Ryan, being the man he wasn't letting us kind of limp out of the championship with another defeat. So got ourselves back up the second week, got a good win against Down, and then obviously beat Armagh.
Was that home or away, that one?
Both games were in Croke Park.
All right, okay, yeah.
So look, we were delighted actually to get back to Croke Park, kind of back to the scene of the crime, I suppose, and try and right what had went wrong a couple of weeks previous. So we're delighted to get back there and then get back again against Armagh. Yeah, because Armagh were going well, Down were going well. Because I remember we played them in, I think it was 2009. We played them in the back door again, first up there, and that was a very tricky one. But you always fared well against Dublin. Championship wise around those years, you always gave them a fair good belt, and it was that just did you just get it wrong in the day that day? Honestly, looking back, I just don't know. We've talked about this. We talked about it the week after the match. We really don't know. I know we were something like 9-7 down at half time. Really felt in a good position because we'd finished a huge amount of matches strongly that year. Obviously, the quarter final, semi final in Leinster, and a couple of our league games where we were badly behind at half time, but we didn't lose a match in the league that year and ended up winning Division 3. So we really felt in a good position. But Dublin, as they do, got a couple of goals very, very quick together, and if you go behind 7-8 points against Dublin, it doesn't be long going into double figures, and once Dublin get ahead of you, they're not inclined to stop. No,
and it's amazing. You talk about how different the year could have been. It's like that year ended up an absolute disaster for us. Colin Coyle resigned, and from being in an All-Ireland semi-final the year before, we were gone, and that bus home from Limerick was just the most depressing bus journey ever. It seemed like about 12 hours it took. Well, we happened to stop everywhere. I think Kyler said good luck to us in Kells and got off the bus, and that was the end of that. The rest of us we had to keep going. But like I remember that day just watching, because I was coming back from a groin operation. I remember just thinking, warming up, and saying, "Gee, like." Meath were playing absolutely serious football. Like, I mean, I was saying, there's not a chance. Never mind getting on this, back into this team. There's not a chance. Like, these lads are just flying here. And it could have been any score in the first half.
Really could,
you know. And when you think of it, I'd say that the problem was we didn't actually analyse it enough to say, well, Wexford are just standing off, because I think that it was as much as we were playing well, but you boys were playing really bad. You know, you were being passengers nearly. You know, and there was no aggression at all. And then the second half, it literally was, the first 5-10 minutes, because I remember actually watched it back. I don't know why I did that, but it must have been, I know, masochism, but I watched it back. And the first 5 or 10 minutes, it was kind of neck and neck. You know, we had a few chances, but Jesus, there was a 15-minute spell. You just took over, and you were kicking points for fun, and it just was unbelievable. Like, I mean, it was an unbelievable turnaround.
Yeah, we've all played in games and been on both sides of them where you're well ahead or well behind, and something just kind of clicks, or you get a break. I remember we got a lucky break for our first goal from a sideline. It was just literally hoofed into the square. It broke to Redmond Barry, and he kind of, with the outside of his boot, kind of poked it into the top corner. You know, it's back to 5 or 6 points. Then we get another goal very quick, which when that happens, it's very hard to do anything to stop it. But as you said, look, that could have been 12, 14, 15 points at half time. It really could have, because our keepers made a couple of unbelievable saves, in fairness, 2 or 3 point blank shots. But it's just when you get on a bit of a roll like that, it's very hard to stop it.
Yeah, and it just, like, it went from bad to worse. I remember, I think the rot started when I came on, actually. That's what the boys always remind me of. We were 11 or 12 up, and I came on and turned the game in Wexford's favour. But I remember Brian Farrell, I think you probably won't help me or thank me for this, but I think he missed a 14-yard free. Yeah. You know, it just was an absolute disaster. But, like, I mean, fair play, you boys actually, you took it on and went on from that, and we went the other way. But it just shows you how fickle a year can be, because we regrouped the next year, and we got back to an All-Ireland semi-final the next year. But, like, that really took a lot out of the team, you know. And obviously the management team went, you know. But I think those kind of big losses are happening more and more, you know. Like, you see it in the championship now, especially in the Leinster Championship. Like, is there any hope for the Wexfords, the Laois, the Kildares, the Meads, you know, against this Dublin team over the next few years? Like, I asked Johnny, chatted about the underage system. Like, are you seeing anything coming through? Are you, like, you've been involved, you know, you've been heavily involved. Like, are you optimistic?
In our own county, to be honest, not particularly, but across the board, it doesn't really look like it. You know, it's kind of a competition for second place at the moment in Leinster. You know, it's nearly, I think, so I heard some of the Westmeath possibly players saying recently, you know, kind of by default they're the second best team in Leinster. They've been in the last 2 Leinster finals, but they've lost them heavy. You know, is there any benefit to getting to a Leinster final and getting beaten heavily? I don't think so. You know, while it was great to get there, and I think we lost 6 semi-finals in a row, we were delighted to get there. We genuinely felt we could win it, but look, we ended up taking an awful beating off of Dublin. You know, to be honest, it looks like the gap is getting bigger and not probably smaller in most cases. And it's very hard to see where it's going to be closed in the next 4 or 5 years.
Do you think the changes yesterday will do anything to help it?
To be honest, no. Absolutely not. They've done nothing for... There's no change to the provincial championship. They still, as were, they're still going to be hidings given out by Dublin, the Leinster championship, to most teams, possibly, unless you get them out of Croke Park and it's nearly down to a damage limitation exercise at that stage. But, you know, the only changes I can see is, you know, get a couple more games for the bigger teams, kind of increase the revenue, where, you know, the likes of a Clare, for instance, you know, they'll get to, you know, into these group stages that they're talking about. They'll beat one of the big teams, and where normally the big team is gone and Clare move on to a quarter final or semi final, now the big team regroups, win their last 2 games, and they'll probably get to the semi final anyway. For the qualifiers, I think we're giving the bigger teams a chance to kind of regroup and get back into it. I think this is giving them probably even a bigger
more
chance.
Of a chance. Yeah, which is always the way. Would you like to be playing still? You know I saw you chatting about it and talking about the defensive systems and everything else, because, like, you know, back in our day, and probably stupidly enough, you used to be 1-on-1 usually with lads, and you'd be skinning them, you know. Is it like, I mean, would you think that you'd see it as a challenge for you? You know, because, like, I mean, you were left and right, you were a big man, you were well able to win your own ball, catch your own ball.
Definitely. I'm to be honest, I only said it a couple of weeks ago. I'm kind of glad I'm not playing now. Barn, who are probably playing the likes of Tipperary or Galway and Croke Park, who actually go out and play 15 on 15. In fairness to Dublin, they've always done that. They've always played 15. Now they have I suppose modified their game in the last couple of years to cope with teams that get a lot of players behind the ball and then attack with a lot of numbers. But Dublin would always have let you play football and would try and outscore you. And kind of I enjoyed that. While we actually never beat them, we got as close to them as anyone in Leinster for over 5 or 6 years. Barring that Leinster final, I think there was never more than 4 points, and I think in 4 or 5 games. But I don't particularly enjoy watching most football matches now, and I'm kind of happy enough I'm not playing at inter-county level anymore.
Yeah. Just to go back a little bit back to kind of 08 and stuff, when I played against you, and, geez, even looking at you from afar, you carried, and I don't mind saying this, like yourself and Red Barry and a few of the boys like that, like you had a good solid crew of lads on that Wexford team, very, very, and I would say, like, we always hated coming up and playing. We played you a lot in the league and different stuff, and I'll always remember one year, I think we only had to lose by, I think, 7 or 8 points, I think, to stay up, and I think we lost by 9. It was an absolute disaster. But I'll always remember, geez, that bus wasn't too fun either coming back. But the you soldiered for a long time that line there. Were you a natural leader? Were you a natural leader even from the club and into the county? Would you talk much, or were you just like, okay, I know I have to do this, because you were targeted as well? Like, teams obviously targeted you. Okay, maybe not in the targeting that they're doing now with the mass systems and stuff, but teams still paid you a lot of attention. I would always even just try to get back and double up on you. I'm sure plenty of fellas were doing it. So did it come natural for you? Was it a situation where you had to work hard on it, or was it just a natural thing from your underage coming through?
I definitely wouldn't have said that I was a natural leader, or kind of, I suppose for a lot of the time I played with Wexford, a leader of any kind, maybe up to maybe about probably 08, 09, somewhere along there. And actually after 08 I never played very, very little more anyway. You just mentioned there at the start of the question, but we did have a lot of, I think, very good leaders with the Wexford team, and lads that probably didn't get the credit it deserves, like of John Cooper, Colin Morris, Philip Wallace, David Murphy, Redmond Barry, Eric Bradley. Like, we had a really strong spine to the team. Mm-hmm. And I think that's often been overlooked. I've had a lot of people saying to me over the years, you carried Wexford, and I think that's really unfair on a lot of players, particularly like them, along with a few others that would have put in a lot of time as well, and time and effort. But I would have more so called the likes of those guys the leaders in our team, the David Murphys and the Redmond Barrys and Colin Morrises and Philip Wallaces, as opposed to myself. But you were still a go-to man. Like 2008, you were top scorer in the championship in 08. You were like, there is a lot. Like, I know you're being humble about it, and that's the man you are. But at the same time, when we were going out, of course you'd look at all the different leaders in the spine, but there was obviously attention paid to yourself, and that's just the way it was. Yeah, well, I suppose I took frees for a start, which is always going to give you a leg up in any scoring. But I just, if I felt, if I was fit and in good shape, I felt I was capable of doing kind of a job any day, kind of more or less against anyone. Look, I came up against some very tough defenders, no more so than Mark O'Reilly and Sean Marty Lockhart and guys like that. But at the time, where, as you said earlier, I used to get the ball a lot one-on-one, very, very hard for a defender, one-on-one with any forward, particularly in the likes of Croke Park, where you have so much space. And I always felt that if I was fit and in good shape one-on-one, I felt I had the beatings of most players. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What were coaches thinking? Like, just leaving. And I always remember you'd be sent out going, all right, okay, so I'm on my own here against this lad. Yeah, and no one else is going to help me out here. To be honest, I'm kind of delighted. They weren't thinking too much. But look at, I suppose, later on in my career, we had the likes of Banville, we had the likes of Kieran Ling. Red started to score kind of a lot more than he was. So, the scoring burden was starting to be shared around a good bit. So it took a good bit of pressure off me as well, and kind of opened up space for other guys. Redmond Barry was an excellent player, a lad who I always found it very difficult to mark on, because he played at 11 and he would drop deep, but then he'd also sit in on top of you, so sometimes you could actually mark him from the 6, but then he'd drag you, and next thing you'd find yourself, you were out beyond midfield with the whole middle open up. He was a very, very smart, intelligent player. Unbelievable. Like, I've kind of said a few times, I've played with the Gooch and Porridge Ice and Sean Kavanagh. I was lucky enough to play international rules and play interprovincial with some top quality players, but consistently, I think I've said a few times, he's the best player I've played with. his football and brain, his ability to pick out passes off both feet, and as you say, he was really hard to mark. He dropped deep and came forward. He stayed forward and dropped back. He was able to find kind of pockets of space for no one else, and his ability I had a great understanding with him. Kind of it developed over a few years where he knew where I was going and I knew exactly where he was going or where the ball was coming to, and that in fairness made things an awful lot easier, and I think it made things a good bit more difficult on defenders over the years as well.
It certainly did. Like, Red was a good hurler as well, so much like kind of Tipperary at the moment, where you have the and without kind of courting controversy here, you've probably got you've both the footballers and the hurlers now really pushing on, and a battle, I would assume, for where you want to go, because obviously the underage with the football has done really well, and now it's starting to come through the seniors. Is the same, what's the relations like in Wexford? Is the same pressures involved? Like, if a lad coming through, good hurler, good footballer at minor level, where's the draw? Is it due to his club, where his club is affiliated more towards, or is it, is it now to the hurlers because, they're starting to kind of pick things up a little bit more on the hurling front, or, how are you seeing things like that?
Yeah, fairness, it probably will be a bit more towards the hurlers, because look, relatively speaking, they're going better than the footballers are at the moment. I know from about 2003 to about 2009, where we were thereabouts a lot of the time. Kind of anybody that was borderline, the likes of Red, Brian Malone was also an excellent hurler. Yeah. They kind of threw their lot in with us and always said that they were definitely going to be playing football now. I think Red tried to do both one year. He just said, like, I always found it tough enough doing one, to be honest. But he said, like, kind of nearly mentally doing both was just really, really tough going. Yeah. Not even, as I said, physically, but more mentally, because you were literally down after one game, back up for one the following week, and probably week after that and week after that again. So I think playing both going forward is not really an option for any player at inter-county level.
And it's funny, people don't really think about that. People think of the physical side of it, and the fitness side of it, and taking the knocks, but they actually don't think of the mental side of it. As you say, you get a disappointment one week and you have to straight away switch into a camp that's building for a game the following week, and are all kind of up and enthused and everything else, when you just want to probably bury your head, for
exactly.
a few days.
For instance, you lose a football match on Sunday and you're going back into a hurling camp, for instance, on Tuesday, and like, negativity is not really wanted to be brought in there, as you said, to run the up. Really looking forward to a first round of a championship or something like that, and you're going in with a bit of a face and it's not really welcome. But it is, I genuinely feel it's more, we've done it at a far lesser level with club, where we're playing hurling one week, football the next. We were lucky enough to win a senior football and intermediate hurling championship in 2003, I think it was, where I think we played 9 weekends in a row, and luckily you're winning. But when it came to the end, we lost the Leinster Club Championship football match and had to play a hurling county final the following week, and the first 2 or 3 days of that week were fairly tough.
Absolutely.
And then get yourself up again. So on a much smaller level, it's tough at that level. So at inter-county level, it can't be easy. Even trying to play a qualifier match in football the week after losing in the provincial championship is probably the toughest thing I've had to deal with anyway.
Yeah. So what's next? What's the plan? Obviously, championship, and you've been involved. Obviously, you got a taste of the old management, and being involved, obviously, with the setup this year and the last while. So, what do you think? Are you putting the name in the hat?
Definitely not. I can guarantee that. Just from kind of seeing what goes on the other side of the fence after being playing for 11 or 12 years, it's totally different. Playing was actually probably easier than what we were at. You go in, you do your training, you go away. Fair enough, the players, their preparation now and everything is top class as regards gym and diet and all the rest of it. But if the training, coaching into things, management into things, you're never done. I much prefer the coaching, to be honest, where you're on the field with players with the boots on. I know David kind of earned his corn as a winning the minor All-Ireland with Tipperary, and he done an awful lot of coaching with them. He didn't get to do a lot of coaching with Wexford because management kind of took up most of his time, organising other stuff. To be honest, it's not something I'd be particularly interested in, definitely at inter-county level. Coaching, definitely. I enjoy being involved with players and enjoy being on the field with them. But the management, no, not for me, I don't think.
Not for you. No. Sure, look, well, as I say, you're fit and well looking, so you've another few years left in you.
Look, I'll play away with Kyle Nearan for as long as I can, however long that's going to be. Trying to get back up to senior is the big one at the moment. But once I'm enjoying it and reasonably fit, I'd like to keep playing. And are
you in on the square, or are you?
No, I'm kind of roving a bit. I'm gone too slow. I'm gone too slow to be in there now. So it's out and trying to get a few balls into the lads to have a bit of pace. But it's more enjoyable and getting to actually play a bit of football where you're not stuck on the edge of the square with a guy on your back for an hour, as has been the case for a good number of years. So I think I've been playing club football for 22 or 3 years, and that's been the case for most of them. So it's nice to be able to get out into a bit of green grass and into a bit of space and actually play a bit of football and see it from the other end of things.
Yeah. Well, great stuff. Well, look, it's been a pleasure to have you in. Absolutely fantastic, and really enjoyed it. Now it's good to catch up. So fair play to you, and best of luck now for the year ahead.
Cheers. Thank you very much, Anthony.
Look, before we let you go now, this has been a recurring theme. Johnny Doyle has set the bar fairly high. Bernard Brogan was both as Conor Neville, or you'll meet Conor here. He's our quiz mastermind. As you said about Bernard Brogan, he was both the leader and he was on the bottom run. So yeah. Johnny dislodged him last week with 5 out of 5. I think on a fairly easy. I have to say I wasn't too impressed with Conor. We'll have to ask him now in a few minutes. Fairly easy question. So. They might be a little bit more difficult this week, Matty, but we're going to get Conor in to pose some questions to you and see how you get on.
No problem.
So it's good to have Conor in. Conor, good to see you back in the hot seat.
It's terrific to be here. Now, I know you said you were disappointed with me the last day. I've prepared 2 separate quizzes today.
Jesus, you've gone above and beyond.
Yeah,
I'd
this
say.
Is the type of hardcore work that goes on in here. I have 2 separate topics, and Matty can kind of choose between them. One topic is the life and times of Stephen Hunt,
which Matty wouldn't be an expert on.
Some people out there might know what we're getting at there. And another topic is Meath versus Wexford 2008, which has already been discussed at length here. So which are you choosing?
After thinking about it, I think I'll go with Wexford Meath 08.
Okay, all right. So, can you state your name, please?
Matty Forde.
Matty, your topic, which we have chosen for you, or rather you have chosen out of two possible topics, is Meath versus Wexford 2008. Question 1. Who was the Meath manager that day?
Colm Kyle.
Question 2. Who scored Wexford's second goal?
PJ Banville.
Question 3. Did Anthony Moyle start the game?
He didn't.
No, he came on just in time for the implosion. Number 4. Who was sent off for Meath that day?
Mark Ward.
Jesus, this is ridiculous. Number 5. Which former Fine Gael election candidate scored Meath's second goal that day?
Graham Garrity.
Matty Forde, you scored 5 out of 5.
There we go.
In fairness, I only watched the match fairly recently, so
how often do you watch it?
I had a bit. It's about the second time I've watched it, and that's the truth. I actually only watched it very, very recently.
Second time that month, I'd say. It's obviously a regular thing, Matty.
No, I mean, my nephew was actually watching it. He's only 5, and he couldn't understand the whole fuss about Wexford football and stuff. So he had it on one day. I went up, so I sat down and actually watched most of it with him.
Good man. Well, that's a good game to show him.
These quizzes are getting too easy, I think.
Well, look, you know,
I had 2 done. I mean, I should have just stuck with the life and times of Stephen Hunt. Out of interest,
that wouldn't have been 5 out of 5, I'd say.
Okay, fair enough. But I should have stuck with that. I mean, these whoever's coming next week is going to get the wrath.
I'd say Matty would do okay on the life and times of Stephen Hunt as well. To be honest with you, throw it in there.
Do we want to go with it?
It could be the kind of tiebreaker between himself and Johnny Doyle. You see?
Okay, we're going to go with the life and times of Stephen Hunt. I have 5 questions prepared.
Brilliant. We're
going off book here. Number 1. Under which Irish manager did Stephen Hunt make his international debut?
Mick McCarthy.
No, Steve Staunton. Who was Stephen Hunt playing for when he retired from football this summer?
Ipswich.
No, Coventry City. Which county did Stephen Hunt play underage hurling for?
Sorry?
Which county?
Waterford.
Oh, you were buying yourself time there, Matty.
No, I genuinely didn't hear it.
Number 4. What was the only international tournament that Stephen Hunt travelled to?
The World Cup in 2002.
No, Euro 2012. Who was the Irish manager who brought him to Euro 2012 but didn't play him?
Trapattoni.
Correct. It's 2 out of 5 on Stephen Hunt.
That's 2 more than I expected.
In
fairness,
it's better than Bernard Brogan did. Oh no, Bernard Brogan got 3. Okay, yeah. Well, it's almost as good.
I think he was
what Bernard did.
Well, one I think was Parnell Park, was it?
I think it might have been.
Yeah, so you'd have to strike that off the list. Well, Matty, thanks for joining us. It was great having you in, and we'll have to see you again now. You're top of the leaderboard for Johnny, so we'll definitely have to do a tiebreaker of some sort. So we'll get you back in somewhere along the track.
No problem, Liz. Thanks very much. Enjoy that.
Enjoy the year and enjoy the rest of the championship. Cheers. Matty. We'll have to see you again now.